All right, it is playoff time in the city of Charlotte once again, and I think everyone is very excited for Charlotte FC's run to begin once again. We saw what happened last year, their first taste of it, and they want more. We've got a nice little special coming your way of all things FC as they're getting ready to host NYC FC tomorrow night. Jeb, you're going to be chatting with me the whole time too because I know you're just as excited as I am.
We have been following this team all season, and it seems like one heck of a payoff to have a home playoff match here at the bank, potentially two, hopefully just the one. Hopefully they get business done early. But wow, that fourth place finish that was so coveted at the beginning of the season is here. They're in great form. I'm expecting a fantastic match.
And again, this is Charlotte FC's, of course, in their short history, their best season yet in terms of points, in terms of wins. They got it done on decision day, though, which honestly makes the drama, but they got it done, and they got to do it in front of their home crowd, beating the Supporters Shield winners in Philadelphia Union at home. That secured their spot to be the number 4 team in the East, and they got themselves a date with NYCFC. That is a tough matchup, though, regardless of it just being NYCFC, a team that they split the regular season with, but a 4-5 is always going to be tough because those are two teams that are very close in level, very close in record, and I think it shows in their head-to-head record as well.
Well, and we saw, Charlotte FC and New York City FC split their matchup in the season. The first time when New York City FC came here, Charlotte obviously came away with a 2-0 win. Charlotte goes over there, tough pitch to play on, very narrow, does not lend itself to any of Charlotte's strengths. New York City FC won 2-0. So we're about even on aggregate. I think it's going to be a really, really interesting matchup when all is said and done. But I like the tie. I feel like Charlotte has a good chance. And we speak to several people throughout this special here who really break down why Charlotte really could, come out of this with a win and then move on to the next round.
This team has been... And they've disputed the whole roller coaster of a season because Dean liked to paint the picture himself. He said, well, the roller coaster, it went up, it went down big time through May and June, and then it went back up steadily over the summer. Then they skyrocketed during that 9-match win streak, and here they still are. So it hasn't really been up and down and up and down. It's kind of just been a couple one way or the other. But this team has gone through some tests clearly through the earlier months in the summer where they lost 10 of 12. It was a stretch that I think all of them now look to as a place that really humbled them as a team. It really made them look inwardly. They were also kind of figuring out some lineups situations and just personnel situations at that time too. They now seem to have things pretty solidified. Of course, there are a few different things such as Pep Biel being out right now with an injury going into this specific match, Wilfred Zaha being out with a red card that he was issued in the 90th minute of that decision day matchup. So a couple of differences we're going to be seeing on a personnel standpoint, but for the most part, this team seems to have found their groove with the players that they have, and they've been finding a lot of success through that.
And speaking of players that they have, players who have been true stars, Danielle, you actually had the opportunity to speak with maybe the biggest name in Charlotte right now.
Oh my gosh. We could argue that actually, but Tim Ream is, of course, one of the most important players on this Charlotte FC team. He has been a fixture of the back line, and you could know even with his absences when he would be away with the U.S. men's national team just how much this team missed him. He started with playing left back for a lot of the season, and Tim and I talk about that a little bit, and we had a pretty interesting conversation, but we had to sit down with one of the fixtures of this team as we're heading into the first playoff match. Right on the cusp of the playoffs beginning, it's been a very interesting season for you and all Charlotte FC. As you're getting ready to go into this match day with NYCFC, just where's the team at and where are you at alongside things right now?
Yeah, we're in a good place. Obviously, the year has been a little bit of a roller coaster and a little bit streaky for us with the beginning of the year going really well, and we hit a really rough patch in the middle. But when you come to the end of the year, that's when you want to be playing your best and get on a good run, and that's where we're at right now. 11 wins out of the last 13, and the team has gelled really well over the course of the season, and I think everybody's ready to really get going, for the first game.
Everyone was obviously last year, I'm going to bring it back to last summer when you came here, thrilled to welcome you to Charlotte, coming with so much experience. At that point, though, you had only come into playoffs with just a few months, basically, with this team. Where are your, I guess, perceptions of this team where you are now compared to where you were last year heading into the playoffs before? Yeah,
I think last year you come in and even as an older player, experienced player, you have to settle in. You have to come in and not necessarily be, demanding, but you almost have to take a step backwards to observe and understand, the way the team works, the way the individuals work, the way they, what they're good at and what you can help with. And I think, if you look at it from a team perspective, obviously last year we were not top four. We didn't get the extra home match for the playoffs, and now here we are. I think it's been a natural kind of progression that the team has gone on this kind of upward trajectory, season to season, and I think that's a sign of a good group, a good team that you can continually improve on what you did the previous season, and that's going to be important for us, obviously, with the playoffs, because we made it to the first round, but didn't have the extra playoff game, and then didn't quite make it out of the first round. So that's where we're at. That's where our aim is, and what we want to accomplish.
Dean was just telling us this morning that it's still a bit of a fire that's been burned from how last playoffs ended, based on just the situation where you're put in and getting into PKs, and no one wants things to end in a situation like that. How are the returning staff and also players kind of fueled by last year's playoff as you're about to enter this year's?
You know what? It's funny. We've not really discussed it a whole lot, but it's there.
Yeah.
I think you have that feeling where you're like, okay, we felt a little bit hard done by last year, and now here we are, a full calendar year later, and we have the potential to change that, feeling, to change that outcome. I remember sitting in the changing room last year, and at the end of that third game down in Orlando, and thinking, and the discussion was, we don't want to feel like that again.
Yeah.
And that has been has definitely been a motivator, but it's not been something that we've necessarily dwelled on and talked about at length, because I think the more you focus and you harp on it, it becomes almost something that nags at you. So we've used it as motivation to start the year, but we're a very different team now than we were 12 months ago, and in a much better place for sure.
You guys are a much different team even from the start of the season. Things have changed so much in terms of where people were on the lineup.
Yeah.
Like you're a left back for a lot of the beginning of the year. What was that like for you, playing out of position that you're not typically in? You're a center back, and you were spending a lot of your time there, and obviously you've found your place in the middle with Malanda as of late, and things have been seemingly clicking beautifully.
It was terrible, actually.
Yeah.
Obviously, coming into the season, last year it was adrenaline. You can play, it's a short amount of time. You can play left back. You can fill a gap and fill a hole, and help the team out in any way you can. And the beginning of this year was similar, but then obviously things happen, injuries, suspensions and all sorts, and you end up getting stuck out there, and that's never been my best position. Again, you can fill in, you can you can do certain games and try to help the team, but listen, at the end of the day, I'm a center back by nature, and that's when I'm at my best, and obviously going away with the U.S. team and getting a run of games at center back and then coming back, it was a much easier kind of transition into that center back role, and Addie and I have just the communication, the understanding between the pair of us and everybody around us, and it has made it so much more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Like you said, we've had our ups, we've had our downs this season, and now him and I together at the back, organizing, doing all the things that we're being asked to do is put us in a position that we get to have this this playoff game here, and hopefully we can go on and do something special.
As you were just mentioning, I mean, it was terrible from your perspective. Like you're saying, it's something that you're not comfortable with, but it also shows that you're willing to do whatever you need to do with the team to make it work. What does that kind of say about the unselfishness and willingness that all of you guys in the back line seem to be having throughout this year?
Yeah, I think that's what you just said there is a perfect point. Everybody has had to do it at some point. Nathan Byrne playing left back for the last couple games. Harry Toffolo who's came in, got a little injury and had to come out, and Jack, Jaquil playing left back, Bill playing right back. So there, it's not just myself. We've all had to, had to take our turns playing positions that we may not be comfortable with, and trying to find the right mix, the right matches, the right partnerships, and I think it just says a lot about the group's mentality, the team first mentality that everybody here has, and I think that again we've gone through that tough period in May and June. And we've come out on the other side in a much better place, even with guys playing positions that they may not necessarily have wanted to play. So I think it speaks volumes and speaks so highly of the guys and the group as a whole.
Do you think there's a left back curse on this team this year? That's been what's said online, at least.
I won't get into that. I will say that's probably been discussed more than the penalty shootout loss last year.
Okay, I will though circle back to that May and June. That is a character building part of the season for you guys. That it was shaky. There was a lot of uncertainty on where you guys could go from there, especially after having that really strong start to the season. So that kind of stark contrast. But throughout it all, Dean was really saying, you don't get too high with the highs, you don't get too low with the lows. How was that message conveyed within all of you guys? And do you feel like you were able to make it through to the other side essentially because of that messaging?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a great message no matter what what sport you're playing or what career you're in. You're going to have highs, you're going to have lows, and the highs are never as euphoric as you think they are, and the lows are never as bad as they seem. And that was we were playing okay. I think we were playing well enough to get results, and we just weren't. But you have that in a season, and it's how can you keep going? How can you get up when you get knocked down, and how can you turn things around? When things aren't going your way, and the staff did a great job of keeping guys on task and focused on the bigger goal, and that's the end of the season. Was getting into the top four and making sure that we were playing at home with the playoffs. And at the time, I'm sure everyone was like, this team it's not going anywhere. We're looking like we're not even going to make the playoffs, and guys just stuck with it. Guys stuck to it, and they believed and they listened, and we were better off for it because of the messaging, and here we are getting ready for the playoffs.
You guys turned it around from there. Season went on. You ended up going on that 9-game winning streak where you guys were seemingly clicking on all fronts. A huge part of that was Kalina. He had also turned a corner after he had a little bit of a rough spell himself. That obviously works with the synergy of the back line as well. How has that evolved this season to a point where he's now back where he was at a place last year where he was named MLS Keeper of the Year?
Yeah, he's obviously been huge. He's a big reason why we win games, and we talk about it all the time. You have to be better than the other team in both boxes, and when whatever happens, you need your keeper, and you need to trust your keeper and rely on him to make the saves. And he's done that. He had a rough patch just like all of us did, and I think there was a good number of the team who wished May and June were not 2 months of the year or 2 months of the season this year. But he's rounded back into form, and really just started to take over games again. Just making the saves that he should, but then also the saves that he pulls off are you think, okay, probably shouldn't make those saves. but it gives everybody in front of him the confidence to go and do what we have to do, because we know we have him behind us. We know he's on top of his game, and he's playing as good, if not better, than he did last year.
You're not playing exactly the same positionally as Wilfried Zaha, but someone that I know is extraordinarily impactful across the fields. You've known him throughout his career, of course, playing in the Premier League as well. What has the insertion of his energy and his just presence on this team done for them, in your perspective, this year compared to what you saw out of the team last year?
Yeah, I think he's brought another level of hunger, another level of drive. Somebody who he wants to win at all costs, and if that means getting on to guys and speaking up in the changing room and having his feelings known and heard, guys seem to respond to that. I think he's brought this again this drive to want to push everybody forward, and there's a handful of us in there that all want that, and we're all a little bit different personalities. Some speak more than others, and he's a big voice. He's a big character, and somebody who's come in and really tried to push the team forward, and obviously again, you look from last year or the season before to now, and it's been a gradual progression, and bringing him in with his goals, his assists, and the way he plays and draws other teams towards him and opens space for others has obviously worked really well for us this year and put us in the position that we're in.
He's mentioned to us too after some of the matches that we've had these heated kind of halftime locker room chats, but you just mentioned before that all of the leaders have your own kind of style. What is yours, would you say, at this point in your career with Charlotte FC?
Yeah, listen, I mean, I'm not going to sit in the changing room and be rah-rah. I'm not going to scream at guys. It's more of like the calm dad vibe energy. I'm disappointed, guys, we need to be better. If you need anything, I'm kind of there, because again, I'm not the only one, but you play long enough in the game, you've seen a lot of different things, a lot of different ups and downs, and I'm one of those that if you need something, no problem, you can come to me, and also more of like, right, guys, like, this is the reality, this is where we're at, this is what we can do, but it's kind of up to us. So a little bit more laid back, a little bit more relaxed, but still, trying to show by example, that you can do whatever you want to do, if you continue to work at it and put your mind to it.
I feel like sometimes the I'm not mad, I'm disappointed is almost scarier though than the yelling, when it's like, oh, this guy is the calm one and he's saying that. Yeah,
the calm one in the corner who is just looking like, I think you really messed that one up there. But I try to be. I'm more of an optimist. I try to be more positive than negative. But I'm not afraid to speak up if I have to.
And of course, as of late, there's been a lot to be positive about. With your experience, though, you've obviously throughout your career played in a number of different tournament styles, between the national team when you're playing in the Prem, but specifically if we're going to look like World Cup, it's obviously a lot of games in a short amount of time. How does playing in, of course, stakes may be different, but playing in a format like that differ to an MLS playoff?
Yeah, I mean, I think the games, especially in the first round, are a little bit more condensed. So your recovery really takes. Listen, the games are center stage, but your recovery is probably the most important part of this condensed kind of 10-day period. And if you can recover quickly, you're going to put yourself in such a better position. I mean, in terms of intensity, I think the playoff feel has already been there. It's been there for a few weeks, and I think guys have gotten used to that and have that ramped up kind of feeling and energy with it. But I mean, just the format of it being, okay, you play 3 days after your first game, but then you play 6 days after your second game. So that is a little bit makes things a little bit different, a little bit tricky, because there's not that nice kind of equal cadence between games. But I think that the biggest thing is making sure that, listen, you have to win 2 of 3, and it doesn't matter how you win 2 of 3. And now it's you take each game, and you put everything into the first game, because you can be done before it even begins.
Right.
So I think just being so focused on okay, one game at a time. Yes, it's cliche, but then you take that game and then you recover as quickly as possible, because the time between games is very different.
Playing against NYCFC this season, you did split results.
Yep.
You each won your home match.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like that really corresponds when you're playing in a playoff situation like this, when you're getting that home field advantage when you're here, and you get it twice potentially if you don't shore it up on the road? Do you feel like coming into this playoffs you feel good knowing that you're starting at home with the bank behind you?
Yeah, without a doubt. I think there's some crazy stat with the league of home field advantage, and it's why it's so important to be in that top 4 at the end of the regular season, because it plays such a huge difference. And as you said, we split the first 2 games, and both winning at home. I think that definitely plays on on your mind a little bit, not in a negative way, but it definitely, when you're here, it's like, okay, well, we know we've won at home. We know our record at home. We know we're very good at home, and that's why you want to get top 4.
Yeah.
You want to be in that top 4 because you get that extra game in case you need it, and that's a huge plus for any team, but especially one like ours, and for the fans that we have.
Getting that win against Philadelphia on decision day to get that top 4 solidified, can you paint the picture of what the message, or like the vibe, I guess, was after for you guys?
Yeah, it was obviously we knew the different scenarios going into it. Realistically, we had to match the 2 teams below us on their results, and we went better than that. So I think at halftime we were feeling really good, but at the same time we knew Philly's a very dangerous team,
Yeah.
and they won the Supporters Shield for a reason, and we needed to be really strong in the second half. So I think it was actually more relief and exhaustion at the end of that game than euphoria and happiness. I think it was, okay, now we can take a step back, kind of realize what we achieved, but also realize that it was only the regular season.
Yeah.
That the real fun now begins. The regular season is long, it's drawn out, it's hard going through the summer months, and now that the actual like fun part of the season begins, where the intensity is greater, the pressure is greater, and there's a trophy at the end of the playoffs.
Do you feel like playoffs or tournaments bring a different side of you out internally?
Yeah, I think so. I think as professionals, you're privileged to be under pressure. It's something that you should embrace, and for me, that's always kind of the way I've approached, not just playoffs, but every game, and then games that have a little bit more significance. You should enjoy the pressure, and if it helps you play better, great. If you struggle with it, you're probably in a little bit of a funny situation. You're probably not as comfortable with the pressure, and I've always embraced it. I think it's one of the coolest things to be able to do, to walk out and have extra weight on your shoulders to perform and to get results, and it's one of the reasons that I still play is because I love it, I enjoy it, and I still want to feel that pressure come the end of the year.
What would it mean for you to push this team all the way to the end this year, potentially to get them their first trophy?
Yeah, I mean, Dean's been talking about it. We want to win trophies. You play this game to win trophies, and that's what we're in the business to do. And we've set a lot of records. Continue to set records, and that's the one thing that now we're aiming for. That first trophy, you want to be part of the group that does it first. I've been a part of teams who have been first in different competitions, and now here's an opportunity for all of us to be the first Charlotte team to win a trophy. Charlotte FC team to win a trophy. So that's our drive, that's our motivator, and some guys will be leaving at the end of the season, and they want to leave on a high, and some guys are here and want to be a part of the group, and that comes back and saying, hey, we won a trophy last year. So that's the goal, that's the aim, and that's what we're going to be shooting for.
That's perfect. Thank you so much.
No problem.
I really appreciate you.
Anytime.
Thank you again to Tim for taking the time on his Matchday -1 to chat and break it all down. But we're going to continue all this playoff coverage coming up in just a minute. We're going to bring on an MLS analyst from Apple TV himself, Mr. Sasha Kleshton, and we're going to have that coming right up.